Alright, we left off in the register. We had put the edit text in, and now we need to basically go over and get those edit texts so that we can do something with them. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to declare all of our, variables up here. And of course you can name them whatever you want. So we'll go ahead and pop those in. Alright, so we declared them. I named them ET, and then of course username, email, accordingly. And we got 5 of them in there separated by commas. You can also do this. You could do edit text, ET username, and then put a semicolon, go to another line, edit text, ET mail, and then another line, edit text. But like I say, I find this one to be the best way to do it. Next, we need to initialize those down here in our onCreate view. Alright, so I went ahead and did that down here. So we got ET username. We basically pulled each one of those names, set them equal to, and we casted them to edit text. And then we got the view, or V, which we put up there. Find view by ID, and then all these should be equal to the ID that we gave them over here in the Fragment register. So if we go back here, and you got ET name, ET email, ET email var, and so on and so forth. So if you go back to register, those should all match up. So now whatever you do with these, you can just call them by that name, and you get the ID and basically whatever edit text you want, because we have the IDs now. Next, we have to do something on them when we click on them. So right now, let's go ahead and run this. Alright, so right now we've got, you click on register, it says register. Alright, well that's cool, but we need to do something, because we're going to be passing the values in here up to our database. So go back over to here, and what we're going to do next is we're going to get the edit texts, and we're going to do another variable and basically get the string or whatever information is inside each edit text. So down here in our onClick, because like I say, we want to do something when the register button is clicked. So we string basically all these variables, and we set them equal to the actual variable of the ID, and then we get the text from them, and we set them to string, and then we trim them in case there's an extra character at the end or at the beginning, just to neaten them up a little bit. And now we have some more variables that we can work with. I went ahead and typed in our first thing that we're going to check for, and we're going to check for if there's an actual variable in them. So we've got if name equals basically an empty string, in other words there's nothing in it, or, and or is indicated by 2 pipe symbols, which is in the it's right below the backspace on your keyboard. Do shift and right below the backspace on your keyboard, and that should be your pipe symbol. And 2 of those mean or. Okay, 2 ampersands mean and we'll get into those later. So or email, which we have set right here, equals an empty string. And we do that for all of them. We say or, so that if just one of them equals an empty string, we're going to basically toast back, please fill in all fields. Alright, so let's go check that out. Make sure that that's working. And put up our phone here. Alright, so go over here and basically go through, and so we don't have any stipulations on them right now, so we're just going to put 1 letter in each one of them, because we're just checking right now to see if they're empty. And we should get good code because none of them are empty. Good code. All right, so if we go back and we just pull out one of them, please fill in all fields. Okay, so if one of them is empty, then you're going to get that back. As long as you have something in there, and like I say, it doesn't matter, then of course, good code. All right, you should check all of them. So basically, you should go in and pull the one out of there. You know, I'll do a couple of them here. So if you hit the backspace there, and then you go down, click register, please fill in all fields. Okay, put something back in there, and then do the next one. And go down and check that out. Register, please fill in all fields. And once again, you know, then when you get all done, just check it again, make sure that you don't have any issues. Good code. Okay. And don't forget to check out your other two. So now we've checked that out. Now we're going to go a little bit farther and we're going to check out basically if the ET email equals the email verification and if the password and the password verification match up. So we're going to check both conditions to make sure, you know, because if they're both, you want to say, hey, your emails and your passwords don't match. And then after that, we'll get into just the email and then just the password. All right, so we're a little bit farther in. I've gone in here, and anywhere where you see this else and if, you could do an else if and then put that in there. I'm just keeping them separated right now. A little easier to read, but yeah, if you want to shorten it up, you can do an else and then space if, and then do that parentheses with this stuff in it. All right, so if the email, and if you have a exclamation point in front of something, it's the opposite. So it's saying if the email does not equal the email variable and the password does not equal the password variable, then we're going to do something. And what are we going to do? We're going to toast emails and passwords don't match. All right. And then, you know, else, now here's where you would have good code if you wanted to, if you just want to test that one, but we went a little bit farther because we're doing all of them to shorten the video up a little bit. Else if the password does not equal password var, okay, so that by itself, so we're checking for both of them. If they both don't match, then we're going to give something. If password doesn't match its password verification, we're going to toast passwords do not match. Else, and then of course you put good code in here, and so this is our next check. If the email does not equal the email verification, then we're going to toast email addresses don't match. Else, we're going to go with good code. So let's check it out. Alright, so we're back over here. So we just do D, because we still don't have any real checks on the stuff. So we'll go done and we'll go register. Good code. Why? Because everything matches. So let's change that to a C. And if we do that, then we go next, and we go register. Well, these are our email fields, so we should get back, because it should bypass that, because bypass the first one because the passwords match. So you would have to have emails and passwords not match for it to stop at that one and toast. So here it should bypass that, bypass the password one because they match, and then go down to the email one and give us back emails don't match. And email addresses do not match. Alright, so now if we go down here and we change this to C, now we should get caught up on that first one because now neither one of them match. So let's go down and check. Should say emails and passwords do not match. Emails and passwords don't match. Alright, So now let's go up here and we'll change this back to D. And now it should continue on and basically tell us that the passwords don't match because we changed that one to a C short time ago. Alright, passwords do not match. Okay, so all the way up to there is good. Now if we change that back to D, of course, now we should have good code. Alright, so we can continue on and check our next thing in the good code area. Alright, so where we at? We're here. We're down on our next little check. So we've got this. We know we've got all these working. So we're down here where it said good code. And we basically added another if statement. We're checking the email addresses. Not to make sure that they're valid email addresses, but to make sure that the context is right. So in other words, you got the @ symbol in there, and you got a period, and you got something after the period. Other than that, that's really all it checks for, so that you can't just put some garbage value in there. You know, it's got to have a little bit of structure to it, which you want, you know, because you don't want people passing garbage up to your database. You want to force them to put in there basically what you want from them. And we'll do some other checks once we get into the database. So we're going to run this and we're going to check it to make sure that it checks for a valid ID. Because remember, before we were putting D in there, and of course that's not a valid ID. So now we're going to check it. Once again, we don't care about this because, alright, so put a valid ID in there and a valid ID, because those are both valid IDs because they're mine. And we'll just put a D here and a D here because we haven't run any checks on that, and we should get back good code. Alright, so now let's say that we go in here and we pull the @ symbols out. Should come back, email address is not valid. Alright, and it isn't valid because we just pulled the it's got to have an @ sign in there. All email addresses do. So if we pull the periods out, and email address is now valid. So let's put the period back in. Actually, let's do this. Let's just put a period at the end because, alright. So we click register again. Of course, it's still not valid because there's got to be something after the period. So here's where it doesn't really check as good as we'd like it to. So now, because I just put an S in there, I don't know of any, you know, yahoo.s or whatever. So click register, good code. And like I say, it's got the structure of an email, which is good. So you got to have the @ symbol, you got to have the period, you got to have something on the other side of the period. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to do some stuff with the password. Okay, so I've gone in, and you can research this on the internet. I've grabbed something called a regex, and basically it's a string, and when you use it down here in password matches, I also got another if statement down here. So if the password does not match this regex string, we're going to say password is invalid. Read the criteria, and we'll get to that in just a few. Other than that, it's good code. So what's it looking for? And you can do various things. You may not want something that's secure, but I've got it set up on this with this code here. Basically, we're looking for a lowercase letter between A and Z, an uppercase letter between A and Z, a digit 0 through 9, so 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9, and one of these special characters. Now you can add to these special characters, you can take away from these special characters, but if it's in there, you got it, you know. And if it's not in there and they type it in, for example, the number sign, it's not going to work because it's not one of the special characters that you're looking for. Okay, then we run the little thing here, and then at the end we have our final argument, which is basically it's got to be at least 8 characters long. If you don't care about that, if you want 6, change that first number to a 6. And at a minimum, or at the maximum, I should say, 15 characters long. So if it was 16 characters long, then it would basically come back and tell you invalid. We don't really have to worry about that. I could pull that out because, if you remember, back in our design, we set the max length on both those to 15. So you won't be able to put anything more than 15 in there anyways. But I'm leaving it in here. So, and once again, it's going to be checking for all those. So if you can remember all that, 1 lowercase, 1 uppercase, 1 number, 1 of these special characters, and at least 8 characters long, and not more than 15, which we don't have to worry about anyway. So, and like I say, the better your design, the better everything is going to work in the end. So let's go check it out, make sure that it works. We don't have to check the email and stuff again, so we just got to check this password, and we got to check the different things that we're looking for. So the first of those, let's go back up here. Like I said, we don't care about that. We don't care about that. I mean, we do, because if those, of course, if you don't make it past those arguments, then you're going to have issues. So let's start here. So we're going to say, because we can't see the password, so we're going to have to remember what we type in. So we're going to just type in capital P, and then we're going to type in password. We're going to go to next. And we'll type in the number 1. So we've got 3 of our 4 criteria in there. And it's at least 8 characters, so okay, so password is invalid. Alright, so let's plug a special character in. So we're going to plug shift 1, or the exclamation point at the end, and it should come back good code. Okay, so now we'll pull the number out. So the second to the last one, just go there, and then we'll backspace out of there. And so now we've got everything except a number in there. And password is invalid. Okay, so let's put our number back in there. And don't forget, they have to be the same, or else you're not going to make it past the check of whether the passwords match or not. So it's a little bit of a process to check all this stuff. So good code. Okay, so we're good there. So now let's check the capital letter. So we're going to get rid of our first letter in here because it was a capital P, and that was the only capital letter. And register. Okay, password's invalid. So now we're going to do a couple things. We're going to make sure, so we're going to go, everything is capital, password, and then we'll do the number 1 and shift 1. And like I say, the whole thing is capitalized, so we should get another error. Because we don't have any lowercase in there. So register, password is invalid. We can prove that by putting a lowercase a at the end, and it should work. Register, and good code. Okay, the last thing that we want to check is the length. So we're going to do 7 just to be safe. So we're going to go capital P, A, S, S, and then 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, yeah, okay, so 1, 2, and then shift 1, because we want 7 characters in there. So capital P, A, S, S, 1, 2, shift 1. So that gives us 7 characters in there, so it should come back invalid. Password is not valid, and we're going to prove that because we're just going to add another 1 to the end to make it 8 characters. and good code. All right, so we ran all our checks on our password. So now we just got to go in and we got to basically put a little thing in our design showing people what the requirements are for their password. Alright, so we're back into our design or our XML portion of it, and basically what I did is under the last edit text I put a linear layout with a bunch of text views, which we don't have to assign IDs to because we're just displaying information. We don't need to call on it, we don't need to change it in our code or anything. So I centered the linear layout horizontally to make it look neat. Orientation vertical, so you got one text view on top of the other. And of course it says passwords must contain the following criteria. And then underneath that it'll say be at least between 8 and 15 characters long. One uppercase letter, A to Z. One lowercase letter, A to Z. One number, 0 through 9, and one special character. And then I list the special characters that qualify as a special character. Now, this last thing down here where you got the ampersand and then amp, that is how you display an ampersand or the and sign on like in HTML and stuff like that. You can't just do it because it's used in code. So now we're going to go check it, see what it looks like, and hopefully it looks good because I did not check this before doing this little thing. And alright, so we'll launch the activity. Alright, there you go. So, and you still have that spacing down here because remember, this linear layout was placed underneath this, which is in another linear layout. So, and that's just part of the design. Like I say, it's something that you'll figure out as you do it. And we still have some room up here so we could put some other stuff up here if we want to, like a title or something. Anyways, that's it for this lesson. We'll be getting into databases here soon, so get ready because I'm going to be bringing you some more free stuff here shortly. Have a good one. See you in the next video.